Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Silly Girl Carmen. We're back with another episode of Wonderful. I'm super happy to have my friend that I met in Paris. Her name is Karla. She's an awesome DJ, and she's an adventurous spirit who has many things she does, I know. So how are you? Welcome.
Good, so good, so good seeing you again, and thanks so much for inviting me on the platform. That's exciting.
Yes, I'm happy it came full circle. I just for background, I met Karla when I got to play in Paris for the first time at Dijon. It was so much fun, and you were like a great first person to like be welcome into that scene and that family. It was like a really good vibe. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it was great having you and making the connection. It was a great
Yeah,
night, huh?
yeah, it was a fun time. So we have to for everybody who will be checking out the interview, I just like to give people reference, maybe your background on where you're originally from, where you're based now.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm originally Finnish, so from a little town, even though it's the capital, Helsinki in Finland. And even though I've been traveling a lot since a very long time for music, for clubbing mainly, I'm a dancer as well as a DJ. But 5 years ago, I decided to make the jump and reinstall myself in Paris, mainly literally driven by just the opportunity and scale of things that are happening there with dance and music, namely house dance and house music. So that's where I'm located now. But this is not Paris, as you can maybe see. So traveling quite a bit still. I'm currently in Mexico, very excited. And yeah, don't know
Nice.
what else to say as a recap. In
That's perfect.
Paris, in Paris, I am indeed a resident DJ at the June Club, which you mentioned, where we indeed met that the first time, and that's sort of the circle on why I spent quite a bit of time there with the family, and it's really our house for us, quite literally, with the dancing community as well in Paris.
Nice. Yes, that's perfect. Yeah, I'm glad you referenced. That was my next thing. Like we have to at least give context to this beautiful background you're in. You're in Mexico. It's amazing.
Exactly.
Love that. So yeah, that actually leads me into my first question too, just for the history of like how did your relationship start with Dijon? How did that come about?
Yeah, good question. So first of all, from my background, I think this gives context to the full story. So before I was a DJ, I was a dancer. And before I was a dancer, I've always been a club head, always into music. And ever since I ever came to Paris, obviously, I already knew of the June Club, and I had visited June Club whenever I crossed to Paris, even before I lived there. But literally since the first day when I arrived, that just became like home base. I was literally there all the time, every weekend. Obviously, their quality programming, music, and being a club head and appreciating the underground scene and the sound. That was really the place to be. So yeah, we got to know each other with the June team. So Afshin, Adrian, who are father and son, and the mom of Valerie in the team. It's a very family business still. Got to know them very well just by spending a lot of time at the club. But really the key moment for me personally was also during COVID. As everywhere in the world, clubs shut down for a lengthy period of time in Paris, 18 months to be exact, which was quite harsh. And during this time, June, as well as so many other clubs in the world, obviously struggled quite a bit to make sure that they can keep going and keep this culture alive from what they've been doing for such a long time. So they put together a crowdfunding campaign at the time that was titled under Keep June Dancing, which I think is very appropriate, because in June there's definitely this very particular connection between the dancing community as well as the music community and people who come there for the music programming. And the campaign was a big success. But during that, obviously, you weren't able to bring out all the international artists that you would normally have on the roster. So they really started looking out also, like, who do we have here in the local community who have always been there for the club? And that's when we started sort of working together, and I contributed also by being able to do a few live streams during the campaign and so on and so forth. And that really, I think, gave the understanding also to the team that there's actually quite a bit to do with the local community as well, and really make sure that going forward we can continue reinforcing the strong connection with the dancing community, where obviously I've been very, very involved as well. And we started creating a concept that we're now calling the June Experience, which is the resident night that we now do monthly, which is really a connection point, a bridging point for the dancers, as well as other types of music lovers, which we indeed do monthly, and hope to also be branching out to other pieces to bring the June DNA also to other parts of the world.
Nice. I love that. That's really cool, because I feel like similar to me, kind of COVID in some ways was a blessing in disguise, the pandemic shutdown, because it sparked new ways for other creatives, dancers or artists or writers to jump into other facets of stuff, and people were connecting with their local community more because that was what was accessible. So I really love how that kind of brought an evolution for a lot of different people to new things, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think this hybrid model also, obviously, even though I will be the first to admit that it's never the same when you're not in person. There's something very particular in the energy that you just can't reproduce via the digital medium. But I do think that the digital medium will stay with us, because obviously people, myself included, being able to access all these fantastic artists from all over the world, regardless of where you are physically, was, as you said, pretty much the blessing of COVID. And I think we got a bit used to that, as well as the new types of communities that got created around that. So I think there's a lot of artists who continue doing like Spinna, you know, the weekly thing, because there's a full community who come together every Sunday to listen to his thing, who know each other just online. But it's almost as strong as, you know, people who've known each other physically for quite a few years.
Right.
So I think that's awesome. An interesting development.
Yeah, and I do that leads, again, another thing that leads me into my next question is more so about your dancing background, which I love to experience. I didn't even anticipate how much of that culture would be present in Paris, and I absolutely loved it. Between you and Capella, like, you know, telling me what was going on in that community, that was really exciting and inspiring. So how do you feel being a dancer has helped you as a DJ, and maybe in what ways has it helped shape your evolution as a DJ?
A really good question, and something that I think about quite a bit and always reference back to, because for me it's two different representations of the same core, which is just being this crazy music lover, which I've been throughout my whole life. Mm-hmm. So it's really just been an organic evolution. There wasn't a day when I decided to become a dancer, something that just movement always followed music, and more time I spend in clubs, traveling around the world. That's just for me personally, a very organic way of connecting with people, exchanging something, especially when we're talking about this sacred thing of club culture. And then DJing just came out of that. Obviously, being a dancer, you listen to a lot of music, you follow artists, because to me it's a symbiosis. There's never going to be dance without music. So you grow up listening to music, following different producers, following different artists to find new music that will inspire you to move and dance. And that obviously starts already, I think, collecting a knowledge base of music, sort of musical library, which to me still makes the biggest piece of being a DJ. And throughout many years already, all friends of mine were like, "Yeah, you always have like such good playlists. Like you should be playing." And I was like, "No, I like listening. I like being on the dance floor. That's fine. But yeah, really, the big shift happened to me during COVID. You're at home and you can't really connect with people that much. So I really started putting myself very, very seriously into mixing, again, not with the objective that I would ever play for people. It was literally just to keep my mental sanity. During the first lockdown, for example, which was super harsh in Paris, I literally did like 3 club nights a week at home alone.
Nice.
I would play for myself. I would have like lights blinking and everything, and I would like go at it and find the zone as I would in the club space. So yeah, very organic evolution. Just read two different representations of just loving music and wanting to share something around this thing that we love.
Yeah, that's super dope. And I feel like my observation of, well, I always loved growing up, I always loved the DJs that are, you're kind of getting inspired from their movements of what they're playing. So a lot of, I know there's some Detroit DJs and other people from other cities that I know their background have been dancers. And it's more exciting almost to watch them be up there because they're like giving you a little bit of that movement through their body with the music. So it's like that musicality and that connection with your body, it kind of, I feel like elevates your performance as a DJ, you know?
But you move too. I mean, you got some music in the booth as well.
That's probably because that's who I looked up to, were the DJs that were like, I wanted the whole thing, the movement, you know. It's like, yeah, if you're feeling the music and I can see that, then it obviously inspires other people too. So but
and I think it's more engaging for the crowd as well. And I do think, you know, being a dancer, it surely affects your taste in music. I think many dancers, I mean, you naturally play music that is more danceable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
I think more rhythmic in some sense. And I think that just comes indeed from the, you know, when you listen to a track, the first instance when you hear a new track is sort of like, does this make me move? And you tend to, I think, navigate towards music that does have that effect.
Yes, that's super dope. So another question, our next question, do you feel like there's a strong female presence in Paris in the music scene? Do you feel like it's growing, or what's your thoughts on that with like DJs in the Paris community?
Yeah, it is growing, I would say, definitely. Maybe traditionally not so many. I think it also comes from, you know, certain cultural factors. I mean, as said, I come from Finland. From my background, which is a very, you know, Nordic countries tend to be very, you know, advanced in things like equality and women being very present in pretty much all facets of life and different industries. In France, I would say that females are still underrepresented, and, you know, we can start talking about many reasons why. But I think there also haven't necessarily been that many you know, traditional figures have all been male. When you think about especially electronic music industry in France, there's not many, you know, bigger icons that would be female to look up to. But I think in the next generation or the new generation, when we're talking about DJs or producers who are, you know, 20 to 30, in that type of an age range, there's a lot happening and very interesting things, specifically on, you know, female producers coming out and female artists. So definitely a lot of things to do, I believe. But it is a growing scene, and that's exciting. And I think we're getting more and more examples of what that brings, because to me, it's important to have diversity in all different types of aspects, because every individual from different background, we play a bit differently, and we provide a different angle, different viewpoint also when it comes to musicality and you know, how do we approach the dance floor, how do we approach a set. So to me, it's very important.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely good to hear. I feel like that's like the overall narrative is like, it's on a very hopeful, expanding side. You know, even if some of those staple icons aren't there yet, it's coming, like you said, with the new generation. So that's really good. And absolutely. It's different just because when I got to visit Paris for the first time, you kind of naturally compare like what's similar to your hometown and your scene. So that's always something I'm curious of, like what, you know, how the community works and who's coming up there. So absolutely. Very good insight.
And I think maybe it's in the newer generation as well. I think traditionally, maybe specifically where we're talking about producing, maybe it has been considered, I don't know, more of a masculine thing, just due to the fact that it is technology and there's quite a bit of, you know, stuff you need to know. You need to operate with different devices, which is obviously very, you know, gender stereotypic way of thinking. But I think that has maybe affected, in general, largely why less women have gravitated towards that. But I'm also happy to see that changing.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's like those kind of things. You never know where those stereotypes get like, where they start, but it definitely was like
Yeah,
that in all, I feel like in all entertainment facets, because even when I started out doing pop R&B, it was still all the producers that were available to work with
yeah,
was all men. That was just a
exactly.
predicament you found yourself in. And now there's like a lot of cool platforms that have opened it up where they're actually providing resources to empower women. Like, yeah, like learn how to produce,
Yeah,
have fun with it. So that's really cool.
exactly.
Um,
Absolutely. And good job you taking the mantle. No, but it's important. No, it is
thanks.
important to also highlight that there are some. I think sometimes people don't realize that they might act as role models without even realizing that they are, just by doing what
Mhm.
they do. There are
Nice.
other people
Yes.
who can get inspired.
Yes, it definitely is important. We're gonna wrap it up with one more question. I know from talking to you when I was in town, you seem a very adventurous and you've done a good amount of traveling. Um,
Yeah.
is there maybe a particular place that you've gotten to play as a DJ that was like a really exciting experience, or even outside of DJing, what's been a favorite travel experience of yours?
Yeah, quite a few things. I think I'll maybe separate the two. New York, obviously, for me as a DJ, just thinking about house dance and house music culture, obviously a very, important spot. It was for me a very, big step in my journey as an artist to be able to play in New York. So that happened actually this April when I did a little US tour. So that was probably sort of one of the highlights. Um, yeah, I've been super blessed to travel to different places, both with dance and more with music, and also just traveling on my own expense to follow music and follow artists for about 20 years. I just realized that it's going to be 20 years of clubbing to me next year, which,
Nice.
which is quite a journey already. But outside of that, well, South Africa has a super important place in my heart. Just the energy there, obviously music culture, which is, it's just one country in the world, but you're thinking how much new music is coming out of there and how impactful their music scene is to music today, electronic music, I think, as at large. And there's just something, an energy there that you can't really put into words. That's been a super, super cool experience from playing and music and dancing as well, learning some of the traditional dances there. It's a place where I always love to go back to, as well as Mexico. So I'm actually here for Mikasa holiday, very important festival for me. I just came a few days early just to chill because it's been quite crazy lately. But I'm
Nice.
going to be at that festival throughout the long next weekend. So also has a very important role in my heart. So big up to Julius and the whole Chicago family putting that together every year.
Very cool. I love that. Yeah, I can't even remember. You were telling us well, you were of course giving us a lot of insight of like pretty places in Paris and stuff, like
Yeah.
cool places to check out. So I'm like, we appreciated like, oh, Karla knows a lot. Like you got some experience. You're like I think I might have mentioned that like you could be a great like tour guide or like a tour
Yeah.
blog or like travel blog.
Exactly.
Good
Exactly.
information. But
Yeah,
that's
if there's
super
anyone who
dope.
likes to, I don't know, climb mountains and then dive the sea and likes music and dance, yeah, hit me up.
Exactly. That's perfect. Well,
Yeah.
super cool. I thank you so much for coming on here for our episode. I'm
No, thank you.
excited to share your mix, and I'm sure people will enjoy it. And I can't wait till more things cross paths where we get to reconnect and we end up in another place playing or whatever it may be. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Manifesting towards that.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.